Hey, everybody, welcome to the Outerbound. I'm Patrick, and you all know my friends.
Chili.
Buttermilk.
Eric.
And Jerry.
Oh, man, and we are here from a beautiful Ohio. It's a wonderful faux spring day. Or is it real spring day?
No, it's not real spring.
It's not
yet.
real spring. It's the
It's
faux
teasing
spring.
us.
But it's doing a great job of teasing us.
Yep.
It is. It said when I woke up this morning, high of 68, and it got up to, 74 or something like that today?
Something.
It was crazy warm and beautiful, just not a cloud in the sky.
I'm excited about Friday.
I am too. What happens?
77.
That's too hot.
I say we hit 80. I bet you we will.
That's
But
too
you know
hot.
what's going to happen is we have storms rolling in.
Oh, yeah.
Big, huge. I've already seen the severe weather. They've got their different colors coming up from the south, whatever's going to be. And we're kind of in this one color all the way to Cleveland
Well, that's
because it dips to 57 the following day.
oof. That's a
so,
front.
So that's lots of thunderstorms,
Just
possible tornado warnings,
yeah.
your eyes and your ears, your phone on, all that good stuff.
Gonna have another tornado session, tornado therapy session, like we did
Maybe.
last year.
Maybe.
Remember that? We're all down in our basements,
Yeah.
I know.
texting back and forth.
Right.
What are you doing? Where are you?
What are you doing?
Sirens going off from 3 different cities.
Well,
it,
that-
does,
randomly.
it does warm up to the 60s and then it dips right back to the 40s. So, I agree with Vince. Maybe not quite done with winter, but because that Thursday the 20th, a low of 28. To me, that's winterish.
Yeah, it's very winter. I was gonna say so. Certainly no snow, but now that you said 28, that might be a possibility.
Oof.
We could see another
We're-
dusting.
We're in Mother Nature's needs to take her meds kind of moments these next
We
couple
really
of
are.
weeks.
It rained
She hasn't taken her meds all stinking winter.
all stinking winter, and it rained mud.
And it rained mud.
I mean, like
You're still pretty amazed by that.
It rained mud.
From New
Isn't
Mexico.
that a song?
It's
Raining
raining mud.
New Mexico mud.
I've seen some crazy stuff in my life, but I've never seen it rain mud. And I'm from South Louisiana. One thing we know about is rain. It's never mud.
Nope.
I mean, that just blew me away. And then the whole city just looked so dusty. It was weird driving on the roads and
Yeah.
seeing like the clear tire tracks on the roads, like as if it was snow.
Right.
But it was actually just the dust that was left over, and it was crazy, absolutely crazy.
We haven't had a regular rain since then.
We haven't. We need one.
So there's nothing to wash it away with.
No, it's
Oh, the
miserable.
lines at the what day were we out and about? Saturday.
Yeah.
Whew, the lines at the because this happened Friday night,
Yes.
and the lines at the
Car wash.
car washes were people. Well, that one over
Oh, they're
by
still bad.
Joanne's was just honking at each other. People were not being patient and polite.
No, the lines are still terrible. I went to the one over on Sawmill today, and I was like, nope, and kept on going.
There was no one in line this morning at 7:30.
Yeah. Well, people have jobs.
Yeah, at my house, they were backed out into the road, down the street to the next stoplight,
Yeah.
blocking the traffic at the stoplight. They were all lined up. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to another one. So I drove out going towards, I don't know where the hell I'm
Pickerington.
at. So I went out to another one, and they actually cut the entrance off going from the road and had everybody lined up down this, like the sidewalk, and it stretches into a mall parking lot, and it was down the mall parking lot, like over half the
Yeah.
mall, people just sitting and waiting. I was like, yeah, forget
Car
that.
wash ain't that serious.
No.
It ain't.
I'll go home and get the bucket and the sponge and
Well, it is.
give it a what for.
And it is dust, to be clear. It's
Right.
not salt. It's not
Yeah.
corroding your paint.
Right.
It's just dust. So, no,
Yes.
I'll be happy to get it off my vehicle. I'm hoping the next couple days that line will go down enough that I can swing in and grab it. But I do check pretty much every day now.
I went this past weekend, Monday maybe, and I did the one on Sawmill, and I was able to get in and out less than half an hour.
Oh, I have not been able. I haven't seen it like that yet. It's
I
been,
must have caught it
you must at the opportune time.
special time. Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
lucky. My car was in the garage, and it didn't get anything, so
Mine normally is in
Really?
the garage.
I got lucky.
Ours was in the garage and it still had
Yeah.
debris on it, like a dusting. It was
Maybe our
weird.
garage just isn't as sealed as Jerry's.
Apparently not.
Maybe.
Well, they just put a new roof on ours, too. Maybe that helped.
Yes, maybe your roof is leaking dust.
Could be.
That's what it
just saying.
was. It wasn't.
I'm
It
not
wasn't-
a carpenter.
It wasn't the dust from the rain that got into your car or to your car in the garage.
Yeah.
It just shook the building enough. The dust fell off the ceiling fan that's directly above
Oh,
your garage.
So that's aged dust.
Yes, I always thought it was weird they put a ceiling fan right over your car,
I thought that was weird too.
but maybe they
In an unfinished basement.
in an unfinished
Very strange.
Basement
Yeah.
where you keep your car.
Yes. Yes. We keep our car in the basement.
They've got. Yeah, I have noticed.
Just drive it down.
Yes,
Drive it down.
but it's such a narrow ramp,
Yes.
It is.
and
you
it
have to be
only
careful.
fits your car. Like
Yeah.
I can't fit
No,
my
yours-
It's
Jeep
like
in
the
there; it's too tall.
Batmobile.
It really is.
Yeah.
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 So for the viewers, because I did see some,
What about the listeners?
the listeners.
No, not them. Just the viewers.
Just the
The
viewers.
viewers, the listeners.
The viewers. You can see this picture here.
No, the listeners, the viewers. In fact, I did see some drivers out there making comments on some social media platforms, including Hyfield's, that they had got stuck in a severe sandstorm down in like Arizona or New Mexico, that area, like really bad.
I did see that.
Filled their truck with the dust, just really atrocious. So that's kind of what happened, and it's I guess we all woke up here in this area, Ohio, or along the path of the rain that day, to this weird substance on all of our cars, or this glow outside.
Yes.
And I know that I follow Ohio News and Weather, and they had posted that there was an atmospheric pressure or an inversion or something, and basically the clouds sucked up the dust out of that storm. The wind just sucked it all up, and then it was in the clouds. And so as the clouds are traveling from New Mexico all the way, along their line, Kentucky, so on and so forth, all the way through Ohio, as they're dispensing moisture, it was also dispensing that dust, which then created mud rain, as Patrick said. I thought it was a pretty cool phenomenon. I've never heard of really anything. The meteorologists, they were all seemed kind of in awe of it, as if
Yeah.
maybe they've never seen it before, or maybe it's been 100+ years since something like this has happened. It just, I thought it was a very cool phenomenon that we had New Mexico dust on our cars.
Well,
I don't know if you guys heard or not, but Jim Cantori is thinking about retiring from the Weather Channel.
Really?
Yeah. Melissa's been getting phone calls all week to be his replacement
Uh,
because she's on top of the weather like that.
She
so.
is on
I
top
love
of it.
weather,
Yeah.
though. You know that.
Yeah.
well, you were talking about the dust storms out in California and Arizona, New Mexico, wherever it was out there, out west.
Out west.
I remember seeing a lot of that on my news feed. I didn't put it together that is what fed this storm until you just said that.
Yeah.
I completely didn't put two and two together, but yeah, that was wild.
I kind of picture it maybe almost being like an inverted tornado, but not quite maybe, but like as a suction where it's going up, and then those clouds held, they were so dense that they held the dust in them.
Well-
Just as a science perspective, I think that's I think it's a pretty cool thing.
I do too, but it also kind of tears all those holes in Smart Water's theory where they're talking about how it's distilled by the clouds, because I wouldn't want to drink that water.
No.
Yeah, you don't know that Smart
Have
Water
you ever-
claims to be distilled by the clouds.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever melted snow? It's not as pretty as you think it is.
What's all the salt
Ew.
and the yellow color?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Uh,
it was glorious today. Doors were open in the house. Took Annie for a little walk.
I took a scenic drive.
Was it nice?
It was very lovely. I took the 270 scenic bypass route
All the way around.
all the way around, and I got in the truck around 3:45,
Mhm.
or left the yard about 3:45, and I'm like, well, this is perfect. And I had to go get
Right at rush hour.
yeah, and I had to go get some air in a tire that was a little low. And so I'm like, that's really going to set me in the perfect spot. And I mean, I did great. I headed south and went down, had no issue on 270. I started coming up north, going around the airport. Everything's fine. 70 was, I saw 70 as I went over, and I'm glad I went on 70, but I wasn't on 70, so who cares? So I just kept on going, right? And I get up around just north of
Easton Polaris.
Easton Polaris.
Yeah,
I believe it's Westerville.
it is.
Yeah, and
New Albany, that area. Oh, it's always congested up north, though.
it really is. It really is. I don't know. I guess what I saw was mostly people going north. So like
On the
going from
71.
the 71.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a lot of traffic. Was right there.
Yeah, they're coming out of the part of the city going north, going home.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was cool though. I did see when I was on 270 headed towards 71 on the south side, I saw a truck going the opposite direction as me, and it was a very unique truck. It was a much, much, much older Expediter. So it's kind of cool to see, like, oh, wow, that thing's still running. Like, it's got to have 1 million miles plus 2 million miles. It's old. And then when I got to North 270, I passed it again.
Oh, they're doing a loop too.
Well, I think they were doing the bypass from downtown, like, but they went
Oh,
left and I was going right,
that
or they
makes
went
sense.
west. I was going east, and so once I got up north,
You
they
both
had,
were
they'd
kind of there.
obviously hit traffic somewhere,
Right.
and I had
Oh,
caught back up with them again.
That's funny.
So it was kind of cool to see that.
Why were you doing the loop?
We have a truck that was in a very bad wreck several months ago, and it was not enough damage to total the truck out, but it was a substantial amount of damage, and so it's been in the process of getting rebuilt for quite some time. It's all new, and when I say it's all new, it's all new. The cab and the sleeper are and the engine are original. The drive axles are new. The
Wow.
box is brand new. The
Frame
toolboxes are new. We have a couple new frame rails on it. They were going to straighten them, but they actually replaced them, which is funny because I have a buddy of mine back in the day. We used to talk about how like older trucks, like yeah, just replace rebuild everything, replace everything. And the thing we'd always joke about is new frame rails or whatever. And it was like because that's usually the mark of a totaled vehicle
Sure.
is replacing a bent frame rail. But on these trucks, they're so expensive. That didn't deter it, and so it's a brand new truck, and I wanted to go take it for a drive, just because it's about to go on the road, and I wanted to make sure everything felt right before we got on the road, and it drove like a dream. It drives like a brand new truck. I mean, mostly because
It's a brand new truck.
yeah, over
It's a brand new truck.
yeah, over
sorry.
half of it's brand new.
Yeah.
So it really drove great. It really was a nice truck, nice ride.
Nice.
So that's why I made that big loop. So
So when the loop you made,
yes.
were you on the outer belt?
Some refer to it as the outer belt.
Okay. I was just
Yes.
curious.
Yes, I never. Yes, you're right.
Especially if you look at the map.
Boy, that's a weird coincidence.
That is a weird
The
coincidence.
outer belt on the outer belt.
It's almost like we named it after that.
Yeah. Maybe they named the highway after
After
us.
our show.
Yeah.
I could see that. Jerry, can you research that for us?
Sure will.
Quick fact check. And the answer is
They named it after us.
Excellent. There it is.
Nice.
There it is.
Nice.
You can put that in Guinness.
Yeah.
like I want to go beep boop 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 boop, and it spits out the answer.
Or better yet, you can do a triple P.
Oh, the triple P.
Yeah.
I love the triple
What is that?
P.
He was a character on NCIS New Orleans.
Okay.
He was their tech guy. And whenever he went to do something on his computer, he basically just did like this.
Oh, so
And
you
it was just a clacky, clacky,
Yeah,
clack,
it
clack, as
wasn't-
quick as
If
it could be.
yeah. If you're listening, it's just like
Just
slamming
slapping the keyboard
slapping,
with your
slapping
It
the
was like
keyboard
he was
like it's a
doing
bummer.
100
Slappity,
characters a
slappity.
minute.
Yeah.
Which
Gotcha.
I don't know anybody really that could do. I mean, if you could do 100 characters, kudos to you. I'm at
Like
the
a courtroom
60.
stenographer is basically
Oh
what
my
he's doing.
goodness.
Basically.
If
But-
it was an
but he'd
old
be
school
talking
typewriter, it'd be like.
Yeah.
He'd just be talking and just doing a lot of,
Just slapping.
and so we call it the triple P because that was his nickname on the show. But anyways, you've seen those people.
I have.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever called into Kelly?
Does she do the triple P?
The whole
Just
time
to
that
make it
you were
sound
talking
like
to
she's
Kelly
doing work?
on the phone,
Yeah.
she's got the loudest keyboard known to man, and it is just the whole time. It's it's just
Vince has a loud keyboard. I used it for a hot moment here recently, and I was like, "Wow, this thing sounds like triple P."
For some reason, Don's wanting to get a mechanical keyboard. I'm like, no.
oh
Is it
yeah.
loud?
Yeah, they're loud.
Is
Yeah.
that what-
they have
is that
quiet
what you
ones.
have?
Just depends on the keys you hit.
It's the tall ones, right? That
Yeah.
have the more yeah.
They have more of
Tactile.
a tactile feel.
Yeah.
But depending on which keys you get, there are quieter ones than some of the louder ones.
So do you get a USB-C to serial port or parallel port or
if it's a Mac, it's an ADB port.
ADB?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just need like little half-inch keys.
But if they're
not
using
like
the IBM,
2-inch keys that take forever to strike, which I think that's where you're getting your sound from. But I just need a little.
Well, some people like the tactile feel of the response they get from the key.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think
Oh, wow.
last episode we talked about the plastic of the VHSs and how like unique that was. I think
Yes.
about the plastic of that keyboard of the 1984
Yeah.
IBM keyboard that had that slight little like
Mm-hmm.
little
Little-
groove to it,
Little dip, little
little
sway.
dip to it, and then just the functioning, and then the number button, and it's just yeah. And then were you a fan of the enter that was like a weird up square large
Yeah,
thing,
that
or
was
did you
oblong
like the
thing.
slender one?
No, I like the bigger one, but I also like the enter next to the numbers
Yes.
pad because I can do numbers pad by touch.
So you could do the triple P
So-
on the number pad.
I can do triple P on the number pad. But yes,
I'm sure our viewers our listeners and viewers, our audience
I
are
don't
like,
do as much data
we
entry,
typing?
so data entry. So I did have a job though where they pulled me out of sales and moved me into data entry because I could do so many words per minute.
do they
Which
teach?
meant you flipped
Well-
a lot of their. It was a mail order kind of thing, and I could do, I don't know, like 500 mail order postcards in a day because I could type so fast. Coffee or sunglasses. They advertised in magazines.
It sounds to me like the old school fundraisers we used to do, like in elementary school, middle
Yeah.
school. It was like popcorn wrapping paper, fudge,
No,
and
Greeting cards.
and mascara, and it was like these don't.
no, these were actual
Really?
postcards, like in your GQ, your Vogue, your whatever, and it was for Veritas Coffee, and I can't think of the other name of the sunglasses, but the sunglasses were very much the buy 15 for 1 penny and you get 15 CDs or cassettes, Jerry. So the sunglasses were not of quality. The coffee was of quality.
Can you imagine ladies with the 1.5 nails?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
you
I
can
remember
do that.
those. I remember that. I've
There
seen
are
it. I've
some
seen it.
experienced ones.
I'm from South
really
Louisiana.
sound
I've seen it.
clickety-clackety.
I
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
gonna go there, but yeah.
They really
Where we're
sound
from.
clickety clackety.
absolutely. Yeah, and
And
it's
there's no
special.
back spacing
You have to
either.
type
They
like
know
with
what
your
they're
first.
doing.
You have to type with your first knuckle, because if you type with the point of your finger, it's 2 keys at once.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Do they teach typing anymore? Because I like
Oh, I don't know.
I grew up where you didn't have a computer in every
Yeah, it was-
room or whatever.
But it was
Like
typing,
I-
not
I-
computers.
you could do typing. So my school, I am young enough that when they taught typing, it was on a computer.
Mm,
But not every room at the school had a computer in it, and certainly there were no laptops for kids or iPads, iPhones, anything like
Sure.
that was
I
crazy.
don't
That
think
didn't
they're
exist.
Teaching typing,
So
If they're teaching typing of some sort, they have to.
but they start
don't
you
think
off
they
at,
are.
like,
I think it's
first
like
grade.
keyboarding now or something.
yeah, but I am a pretty proficient typer, and I was not at high school. It's just become so much a part of what we do that I've just learned it,
Oh,
and I'm
no.
reasonably fast at it. And
Do you keep your
I just
fingers
wonder
on
now-
the little nubbies?
well, I just wonder now.
Or you know where the keys are.
Well, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder now if kids are just learning how to type because it is just a part of what you do. But I guess as a kid, you're not really typing a lot, right?
Definitely not texting.
Maybe that's
You're
it.
barely sending emails.
That could be the other thing too, is if they're always on a device and they don't have a real keyboard.
Boy, I don't know. Good question. If you have a youngin out there, what are they learning?
I tell you one thing that's really messing with me right now. So as many of y'all know, I'm taking pilot's license lessons, learning how to fly a plane. Been doing it for a long time now. Hope to be done soon. And the airplane I was in, flying at the school, they sold it and bought the new model, and I'm now on the new model. And part of what we do on the airplane, because it's a newer airplane, more advanced, it has a keyboard. The old plane had the QWERTY
QWERTY.
QWERTY keyboard. The new one does not. And I'm telling you, I feel like I'm 117 years old every time I have to type something, and it's always just 4 letters, but it's always like, why does this look like I'm reading the Matrix? Like
What is
every
it now?
time
It's just alphabetical?
it's
or-
alphabetical. Oh, it's
Wow.
nightmare.
Wow.
It's like why would you do this? Why would you change to this new keyboard? And it's been a struggle, a real
Wow.
struggle to learn it. I am so used to that. QWERTY,
Give it 2 weeks. I bet you'll be proficient.
I'm getting fat. I'm getting better at it, but it's still like there are times where I do 2 things. I'm like, Where? There you are.
Interesting.
It's just funny how your brain,
Yeah.
learns that muscle memory or whatever. So Melissa,
Yes.
you were sharing with the group earlier,
Yep.
and I thought what you were sharing with us was very interesting, and I asked you to
You
talk
did.
about it.
So I originally sought off, my morning deep dive into social media, kind of drink coffee kind of thing. A reel came past, and this guy was mentioning this new Arkansas bill and that DOT officers are pulling people over for something. And I'm like, well, gee, wonder if he's just, blowing smoke. It's a reel. Come on. Not everything on social media is at face value. So I dig a
What?
little deeper. I know, right? I dug a little deeper, and CDL Life has an article on it, and it says Arkansas bill bans non citizens from operating a commercial vehicle without a U.S. issued CDL and English language proficiency. So it says a bill recently introduced in Arkansas would crack down on non citizens working as commercial truck drivers as well as the carriers that employ them. So not just the drivers. And it happened on February 25th. The Secure Roads and Safe Trucking Act of 2025, or HB 1569, was introduced in the Arkansas State Legislature. So they did have 5 provisions. The first one says it requires a domestic issued by the U.S. District of Columbia or Puerto Rico CDL in order to operate a commercial vehicle in Arkansas. Truck drivers with a B1, B2, or B1, B2 combination visa would be banned from operating a commercial vehicle in Arkansas. It does say penalties for violation include impoundment of the commercial vehicle and a fine of $5,000 for the commercial vehicle operator. Canadian commercial driver's license reciprocity would no longer be recognized under the provisions of the bill. Any comments on that one before I move on to 2?
Yeah, so the B1, B2 are the combination. Those are work visas for people coming into the country. If you are driving a truck from Mexico into America to make a pickup or delivery, you operate your Mexican CDL under that visa, and that allows you to come into the state. Or the states. So what they're saying is, even though you can come in that way legally throughout the country, you cannot drive in Arkansas.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they are saying we don't want those drivers here. You have to have a U.S. CDL, U.S. issued CDL. And then they say Canadians' driver's license won't work, and the reason they say that is because Canadians and Americans, we don't have to have visas
visa.
to go to
Right.
each other's countries. So like we do a lot of time. Hyfield always has teams going in and out of Canada. No visas required. You just go to it. It's just part of our free trade agreement.
I'm surprised Quebec's not included in that because they're strictly French.
It's so French. I don't know. Probably people in Arkansas probably aren't thinking about that. I think Mexico's probably more of who they're really targeting.
So number 2 requires commercial vehicle operators to demonstrate English language proficiency sufficient to read road signs and warning signs, understand traffic control devices, and communicate effectively in an emergency with emergency services, law enforcement, and other drivers. Operating a CMV without proficiency in the English language could result in a fine of $5,000.
Now this is already required, correct?
Yes.
To get a
That didn't
CDL
It is
say.
required federally, yes.
to get a CDL
Mhm.
in America.
Yes.
Is it required if you have a B1 to or combination visa? I wonder if it's required for those drivers.
Oh,
I
I
would
don't know.
imagine it is, and you probably have to prove you can speak English to get that visa. But what does prove you can speak English?
But do they have commercial visas? Like
Yeah.
under your visa is it something else listed on the paperwork?
Well,
I
that
think
is
in
what
order
the
to get that
designation
visa,
is.
you have to be sponsored. Well, I and this is pure speculation on my part. If you're driving for a Mexican carrier, then there wouldn't be a sponsorship to enter the United States. you'd probably you have to apply for a visa still to use that license, right?
Well, to get a work visa, period, of any type, you have to have
be
it sponsored in
right, by a
America.
company in the United States.
Yes. So like the
However-
Mexican trucking companies are all partnered with an American
Gotcha.
trucking companies. I
Okay.
do know that much. I remember when it
Okay.
first started happening because there's only a handful that can do it. It's not widespread.
Sure,
Everybody can do it.
Come on in.
It's just a few, and a lot. Like most are just limited to right at the border.
Right.
But then there are a few that are experimenting with
Going a little
going
further.
further. Yeah, there's only a few that can, like, if you had freight in Mexico that you had to deliver in Canada, there's only a couple companies that have abilities to do that, and it's
Right.
still a pilot program. It's not even
And even
done
those
deal yet.
companies can't deliver and can't pick up and deliver within the United States.
Correct.
So
Not
you can pick up in Mexico and deliver into the United States, pick up in the United States and deliver in Mexico, but you can't make an intermediate trip to deliver freight. So if you pick up in the United States, deliver into Laredo, you can't then pick up in Laredo and go
Deliver
to
in Detroit.
Detroit.
correct.
You have to pick up in Laredo and deliver back in Mexico. Same thing with Canada.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
So it's directional.
Correct. And you can't, like, if you were a Mexican operator and you had freight in your truck, you couldn't swing. I'm taking this load to Toronto from Nuevo Laredo, which is the Mexico side, and en route there, I'm going through Kansas City, and Kansas City has a load that I could pick up and then take that into Canada. You can't do that either.
So no double booking on your truck.
Correct.
Whatever you get in Mexico goes all the way to the destination.
Now it can be delivered. So if you had like a truckload of stuff picked up in Canada, and I'm sorry, Mexico, and you delivered half that truckload in the
Kansas
U.S.
City?
and then half that load in Canada, that's allowed. You just can't then pick up and deliver again.
Sure.
So
So not multiple trips.
correct. And a lot of
once you
that
cross.
a lot of that trade is universal. It works the same for airplanes, works the same for
Sure.
trains, works the same for ships.
Ships.
If you ever wondered why on a cruise, if like the cruises they go from Los Angeles or even San Francisco to Hawaii, they always go to either Victoria, British Columbia, which is
Right.
in Canada, or they go down to Ensenada in
Ensenada,
Mexico.
yeah.
It's because you have to touch a foreign port because of the way they do. Those ships are registered not in America, and you cannot go from one port in America to another port in America
without touching
without
somebody
touching
else.
somebody else. It's
That's
against
very-
the
Makes
law.
sense.
That's very
Makes
common
sense.
in Alaskan cruises. Victoria,
Oh yeah,
British Columbia is
yeah.
the
Yep.
I think
outside
there's only one
port.
ship in the United States that doesn't. That's in Hawaii.
correct. That's because they circle Hawaii.
Right. And there have to be so much percentage American crews.
Oh, yeah.
Ship has to be made.
Extremely expensive.
Yeah,
the
it's
ship was made in
Not
America.
made
It's
in
one of the
America. Yep.
it's one of the oldest ships, the oldest cruise ships out there because it had to be made in America,
Right.
and we ain't made American cruise ship
A
in
long time.
a long time.
Wow. All right. So number 3 says establishes the offense of, and this is in quotes, criminal use of a commercial vehicle, end quotes, if a non-citizen without a U.S.-issued CDL, quote, causes the bodily harm of another person while operating a commercial motor vehicle, end quotes. The offense is a Class D felony that comes with a minimum 6-month prison term.
So they're basically kind of like the last one with the English language, where there's now a fine. They're basically saying, we have these laws, and now we're going to put a penalty to go with it. Whereas like FMCSA says, well, you can't have a CDL. They're saying, yeah, but if you're caught here driving it and you don't have a CDL, here's the law that's going to, and you, in this case, you cause harm to someone. Here's this extra
We're
offense.
just going to
Right.
automatically give you a Class D felony
Right.
with
Exactly.
a minimum penalty.
But I'm curious about the minimum 6-month prison term. If they would really do that, or if they would deport the person.
I'm
You
sure we'll
would
do
be
that later.
subject to deportation if you are not a U.S. citizen and you get yourself a felony, certainly.
Yeah,
So, it could also be that you do your 6 months
and then get
and
deported.
get deported.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Too.
Interesting.
Because we see that happen. We've seen it happen for years, where someone commits a felony, they do their time here in the United States, and then immediately are deported after that. So.
Yeah.
If a non-U.S. citizen without a U.S.-issued CDL, this is number 4, is operating a CMV and causes a fatal crash, they can be convicted of a Class B felony with a minimum of 10 years prison sentence. So number 3 is if you do bodily harm.
Yes.
Number 4 is if you cause a fatal crash.
You know what? Now that I think about it with the minimum sentence thing, these are already illegal in the United States. I think they're adding the minimum sentence thing so they can imprison these people, right? So they don't just automatically have to
I'm not
deport
following
you.
what you're saying is
So-
illegal in the United States.
If you get in a wreck or you cause a wreck
Right.
that causes bodily harm or you that causes a fatal crash and you're convicted of manslaughter,
Right.
well then you already go to jail. But if you're a non-citizen, they would just automatically deport you. I think this is establishing a base saying we don't automatically deport you.
But I think there's a difference between this is appears from what is written by CDL Life to be cut and dry. If you're in an accident in a commercial vehicle that causes and you cause a fatal crash, plain and simple, Class B felony, you're on your way to jail.
Minimum 10
Now,
years.
there are times when you can have a fatal crash that is your fault and not be charged with manslaughter.
Okay, so they're just building
They're-
in these minimums.
That's what it appears to me, just reading what we're reading. They're filling in, look, if you are in a commercial vehicle and you do not have a U.S. driver's license, commercial driver's license, and you are a non-citizen, then it's an automatic Class B felony as opposed to, let's look at the causation.
Let's
Yeah.
take it to trial. Let's do whatever. You're going to get a minimum
Right.
of 10 years.
Yeah.
No questions. Right off the top. We're still going to take it to trial,
Yes.
but your minimum sentence is going to be 10 years.
Well,
I get
the
what you're
trial
saying.
the trial's going to dictate whether or not you are guilty of
Sure.
causing the issue, of
Sure.
causing
Sure.
the wreck, right? Like
Well, I
just because I don't think because a police officer says you're at fault, they're
Yeah.
going to say automatic 10 years.
No, no,
They're
no,
going
no,
to
no, no.
verify that.
I think that's where a trial comes in. But if I'm driving down the road in my car and I make a lane change and I didn't see the car coming next to me, and I make a lane change into them, and it causes, unfortunately, that person to die, I don't know that I'm going to be charged with involuntary manslaughter
or
because
vehicular.
of vehicular manslaughter because of what happened there. If I were under the influence, if I were
That changes
driving
everything,
distracted,
yeah.
it changes things, right?
Yes.
So I think what they're saying here is that little swerve you did on purpose, by accident, you didn't see the car there, you did a little swerve. Well, if they find that you caused that accident,
This is the minimum.
You start off
Yeah.
at 10
Okay.
years.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Or 6 months for the...
And I may be being too granular
just,
there. I don't
no,
know.
I think you're being
No,
great.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. And when I say it makes sense, I'm understanding what you're saying. I'm not necessarily saying I agree or disagree. I'm
Sure,
just
I
saying
get
I
it.
follow what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 5, it penalizes trucking companies that provide commercial vehicles to ineligible operators with a fine of $10,000.
So
So the reel I saw that led me down this rabbit hole of educating myself was the man was saying that DOT officers were pulling people over to do English proficiency testing. Now, I thought that was kind of odd because don't you need cause to pull a CMV over?
no,
But maybe not. I've always thought maybe you're just
random roadsides.
random roadsides.
Sure.
I just think of a
So-
way station too.
Yeah.
No, we've had our fair
We've had
share
our
of
fair share of
random
randoms, yeah.
roadsides.
Yep.
One of my very first ones was a random, and I'm like, 2 in.the morning. What am I doing? I was in the right lane, traveling the speed limit.
Yeah.
My lights are not on brights.
Yep.
Like, what are we doing here? But he was just checking his quota for the night or
I-
doing a random, and
I bought a brand new truck, or we bought a brand new truck. I drove it down to Texas and pulled through a not even a way station, a toll plaza. And there was a cop who had just gotten done. He pulled one truck over. He just gotten done with that guy. Walked over to the toll plaza as I was paying my toll, pointed at me and pointed over the side. And I was like, okay. All he saw was the front of my truck. He had no clue if I was a straight truck, tractor, nothing.
It was just your turn.
It's just my turn.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
pulled over and we did a roadside
Yep.
inspection on a brand new truck.
Yep.
It was a day old.
Wow.
And he
Wow.
put you out of service for what issue that thing?
Now he couldn't find anything wrong. He actually loved the truck and gave me a lot of praise about it. But
Nice.
still,
They
it was
usually
just
do, don't they?
they do a lot of times when they see it's a nice truck to do. But it
On
that-
the flip side, we'd have a team disqualified for falsifying logs, and that's how they were found out.
that's how they were found out. Yep.
Random inspections.
Random inspections will catch that
Yep.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing because
Is that the only way you're going to catch them? I mean, unless they cause an accident.
Well, no,
So we just
because
read 1 through 5. So
your trucks out of Mexico are going to have on the front of the tractor and also on the back of the trailer a United States driver's license plate from whatever state they're registered in the United States,
Mhm.
and a Mexican driver's license.
are they really driving up to Arkansas? And I only
sure.
asked
yeah.
this
Oh, sure.
because we drove
We
for
see them here in
Panther,
Ohio sometime.
and I'm only familiar with the Laredo.
Sure.
Yep.
What's the other one? Del Rio.
Yeah, we see
Yep.
we see them here in Ohio all the
Really?
time. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for educating me.
Oh yeah, no.
Yep.
There's a lot of, especially with the car freight, especially with car freight, and I don't mean
Yes.
like hauling cars. I mean hauling
automotive
parts,
parts and
parts
things,
and
yeah.
pieces. A lot of
Yeah.
that stuff is they make the parts in Mexico and they drive them up to Canada, and a lot of times they cross dock and put them on the trucks and send them up here. That's why the pilot programs even exist, to try to make that easier so
Sure.
Mexican trucking companies can get freight up here or up to Canada. But yeah, absolutely, it's super common.
Jerry, you have any input on all of this? 1 through 5, Arkansas. I heard a little ditty that Wyoming was already doing it. Now I did not dig deeper. I do not know if Wyoming's doing it. I'm telling you, I'm fact checking myself right now, but I did see something that Wyoming was already doing this. So I'm not sure.
It makes me wonder, like, we already have the FMCSA rule
Mhm.
that says you have to be English speaking and so forth to hold a CDL. How many accidents, how many rules have been broken? Have they actually caught that's on the books to make this law seem worth it? In my eyes, I think it's just a waste of taxpayers' money.
I think what I've experienced myself is, I know that I've experienced myself drivers that do not speak English in a truck that is got a U.S. DOT number on the side, doesn't have a Mexican license plate, so it's a United States carrier, and they don't speak English. I was trying to help a lady back into a spot one time that did not speak a lick of English, and since I hadn't driven a Class C truck in quite some Class A truck in quite some time, there was another driver walking by, and I asked him if he spoke Spanish, and he did. I said, "Can you please help her? Because I don't speak Spanish, and I haven't backed a Class A truck in so long. I can't help her." And she did not speak a lick of English. You have the example of the driver in Colorado coming down into Denver
Yeah.
on the hill that lost his brakes
Yes.
and couldn't read the signs. A lot of that was lack of training, because they did say he didn't have the proper training, and he didn't know what that runaway truck ramp was because he didn't read English.
Spoke it but couldn't read it.
But so we have, there are tons of examples out there, I think, of people who are getting CDLs and don't speak English and can't read the signs, because I think there are certain states that aren't testing for that thing.
Well,
That was going to be my question. And are they, this $10,000 fine to the carrier that Arkansas is doing, who is liable for that in the end? Because somebody is passing them, whether that be the school, the trainers. How about the DMV? The DMV had to let them get a CDL somehow. And I did not mean to cut you off, but because I'd like to hear your opinion on that. Who's passing them?
But I do think if you are at a DMV in Florida or New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, Southern California, if you speak Spanish and you have someone there that's coming to test for their CDL, right? Like they went through schooling and now they're here to test for it, right? And get their license. If you already speak Spanish and they speak Spanish and it's easier to communicate in that vernacular,
Yeah.
then you're probably doing that, not thinking about the fact that
So
well,
why?
this person
But
has to know
I
how to speak
disagree.
English.
Why
You're
isn't the
automatically
government-
violating the FMCSA rule?
So why isn't the government, though, at some level, the
It's
FMCSA,
federal, so why are they
federal,
not enforcing it?
holding your state agencies, your local agencies,
Accountable?
all the way down accountable? Can they read?
Well, again,
can they read 12
well,
signs in
hold
English?
on. This is for non-U.S.
I got
CDL
it.
holders.
Yes, yes.
So if you're in Mexico, you're probably not getting a person who can say you can speak English at your DMV, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
this is definitely not that. But we see it
still-
ourselves. Like I've had conversations with our recruiters. hey, these two people are wanting to come drive with us. Husband speaks English, wife doesn't. Wife speaks English, husband doesn't. I got their sister on the phone because they don't speak English and they wanted to work with us or whatever. Like, there are ways of corruption, of falsifying records all around to
Yeah.
make it happen. We see it within ourselves. Now, we tell people, no, neither one of our carriers will allow it. So whether or not you have a license or not, neither carrier will allow it, so we can't do anything about it. But it's obviously happening, and I think that the states are going like, well, Arkansas is going, all right, if this person has a authority to drive here through Texas, is Arkansas going to sue Texas over that?
Ooh.
Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Right?
No.
No. Good
But
question,
you know who
though.
we can? I can sue Warner.
Sure.
Not saying that they're the ones. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to throw them under the bus, but
For the
once-
$10,000 fine.
absolutely. Once that happens, then you can actually do things like that. I think that's where it comes from.
So I was just looking on California's DMV website. The Commercial Motor Vehicle Handbook, which you would use to study for the test, is available in 2 languages, Spanish and English.
Yeah.
And that's a state that is following the FMCSA rules. So maybe you understand English enough to have a conversation, but not quite read it well enough, or you comprehend it better in Spanish versus English.
I don't know where that line is. If I go into Ontario, where I'm required to know French enough to drive,
Right.
I know enough French that I can actually read their signs, and I can get through the province fine. But if I get an officer that wants to sit there and have a conversation with me in French, I'm
Sure,
screwed.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
So there
Never
is
thought
that point
about
of,
that.
do you know enough to legally be able to operate versus proficiently operate?
Texas offers the same option for Spanish or English.
Oh, I bet.
Ohio might even.
They might.
Yeah. What a
So,
great conversation.
Here's my
Do you think
issue.
other states are going to follow this?
I don't know, but here's my issue of checking for Spanish proficiency or Spanish proficiency, English proficiency, and pulling people over and randomly checking that. Now it's up to the discretion of the officer to determine whether or not you're proficient
Yeah.
or not. Which means if you get a racist cop who doesn't like Mexicans driving through their state,
Sure.
you're screwed.
You get a cop with a thick accent you can't understand to begin with.
Absolutely, that's
Even if
happened.
you are English.
And that's happened to me in South Louisiana with people I would consider my own. Like, I just can't understand what you're saying.
Right.
Like, speak slower. And now I can kind of think about Ed Origin, Coach Ogeron, Coach O. How many times did we watch him on the news going like, what did he just say?
Now
Like,
imagine him being a patrol officer
So-
pulling somebody over
While
and trying
you're-
to have a conversation.
while you're already nervous.
So
Mm-hmm.
if a DOT officer is pulling someone over, hypothetically, for this new law, and they're giving a, let's say, English proficiency test of some sort that they've now got, do you still have to meet the other criteria to be put out of service and fined? Or are they just putting you out of service because you don't have English as a proficiency? Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah, it sounds like if you don't have English as a proficiency, that's it. You're stopped. And
So it
then it's up
doesn't
to the-
matter about visas or anything else. It's just English proficiency because that's included in their
Yeah,
law.
and in this situation, if you don't have a U.S. So the English proficiency I have an issue with. The second thing I have issue with is the your visa from Mexico no longer being valid. Because if the federal government, the federal FMCSA has said, as a country, we are going to allow this program to happen. You can come here with your Mexican CDL under this visa, do everything right, and you can run the United States interstate highway system. Then one particular state saying you can't do it while still collecting federal money to maintain their interstates and highways, that's a problem.
I
You could
see.
see
Because
some
now-
lawsuits.
Yeah, now you are screwing with interstate commerce, which is something you cannot do. Now, they give California a lot of leeway. They give California a lot of leeway with that, but they do stop a lot of that stuff based on interstate commerce.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Jerry, you've got thoughts. I see them.
I was just thinking, I don't want to get political. It's kind of along that
It's hard
line.
not
I
to
know.
in this whole realm because
But I was just curious if this has recently came out because of the recent actions that Trump just did, placing English as the official language.
Well, this came
in-
out in February, so I don't think that had happened yet. I'd have to go double check my time frame, but I
So,
don't think so.
I'm on a website called Bill Track. That is actually talking about this bill specifically. The draft was released on February 24th, 2025. The last action on this was February 25th, 2025, and it's in committee still. So there's been no update. But if you go to billtracker50.com, look up AR HB 1569, you can read the entire text of the bill there to get a little bit better explanation of what's going on. And some of the things that we talked about that we're speculating on could certainly be in that full text
Yes.
of what they have to do. If they have certain criteria, are they asking certain questions looking for particular answers as opposed to just not randomly, but okay, we'll go with randomly because I can't think of the word. Randomly trying to have a conversation with somebody and they can't understand that conversation. It's kind of like a field sobriety test, right? Where you have to be trained to do it first of all, and then you are looking for certain responses to
Sure.
your test and that type of thing versus just, oh, this guy can't speak English because I asked him who's the best football team in the land, and he answered Alabama and not the Razorbacks. Well, he doesn't understand what I'm asking him.
Correct.
You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'm excited to not excited. I'm interested to see where it goes.
If it
How it dials in, if it's helps anything.
if it goes, I mean, like you said, it's in committee. A lot of bills die in committee. A lot of bills never make it out of committee. You know,
Yeah.
so it's possible. Yeah, a lot of times when I see things like this, I can't help but wonder what happened. I think you were mentioning like how much of a hassle is this? Like, did someone from a congressman's territory, our district rather, get killed or hurt by
Sure.
someone working under a visa,
And that's why it's
and
in
that's
there.
why this got
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it
Um,
also stems off of something you touched on a minute ago. Is I don't know, just in my opinion, racism.
Sure,
There's Arkansas is the racist state there is. It's a fact. You can
don't
look it
know.
up. They have the most racist county in all of the entire U.S. Me and Don drove through there once, and I swear to God, there was a billboard sign that said, "Where white families thrive."
I have seen that actually. I
So-
do know what you're talking about.
Oh.
It's coming from a state. That's the reason why that's in my head. It's coming from a state that already has these pretenses, and it's just like they're taking it further.
In cases like that, I don't think it should be a trooper or the person who pulls them over at their discretion whether they're guilty or not.
Yeah.
There needs to
That's a
be
good one.
some
Like a
some
third-
framework.
Yes.
Did you do this? Yes, no. Can you do this? Yes, no. If there's going to be an English test, can you answer these questions?
I like
Do you
that.
understand what these signs mean? But
Yeah.
Very black and white, not based on
don't base it on
somebody's
an opinion or a feeling.
feeling. Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Well, it just again it interested me. I saw more than one reel. There's a YouTube channel out there or a handle or whatever. He's pretty big in the trucking community and has a podcast, and he talked about it today.
Oh, I hate that guy.
But again,
I know who you're talking about.
yes, again,
care
I
for his
just
style.
was trying to educate myself. So can we switch gears just for a second? Because I have another question.
Sure.
So I'm from Oregon, as everyone knows. And in a year, last year, I believe it was, might have been a year before. And I'm going to preface this with I know that the Outer Belt doesn't like to talk about death, but we're going to talk about it because I do have a question. There was a truck driver that unfortunately killed 7 farm workers in Oregon on the
Yes.
side of the road. They were kind of at a rest area, and this truck driver just blew through and unfortunately killed 7 of them. He was recently sentenced this week to 48 years. And that's not my question. He admitted to being, here, this is what I want to know. He testified at his trial that he had the effects of drugs he took the night before the crash, had worn off, and he had nodded off at the wheel. Traces of methamphetamines, fentanyl, and morphine were found in his blood after the crash. My question is, how often are companies doing randoms? And how are these types of drugs, because from what I understand, these maybe last in your blood system a little longer than normal. How are these slipping through the cracks?
So we
My other question would be is if they are getting reporting to the clearinghouse, are there still companies that hire people who have been negatively targeted on the clearinghouse? Maybe I didn't say that.
I can't answer your second question of how long these things stay in your system. I don't know. We talked a few months back about the requirements of motor carriers to test their fleet, and a motor carrier is required to test 50% of their fleet every year. Now, it doesn't mean if I have 100 drivers, I have to test 50 of them every year. It means that I have to do 50 random tests every year. And there could be drivers that are getting 2 and 3 tests in that course of a year that make up that 50 because it truly is random, right? Does that make sense?
Sure.
So they're required to test at least 50% of their drivers every year. So that's how 50% don't get tested and slip through. And it could be 55% because of those people that got tested multiple times because they came up randomly. As far as the clearinghouse is concerned,
Yes.
when you have a failed test, a failed to test, or a failure to test, or
Sure.
a DUI, then your name goes in the clearinghouse. And a company, a carrier is not permitted to hire you unless you've gone through a SAP program. So they have to, the carrier is required to query the clearinghouse during a pre-employment screen. So they're querying the clearinghouse, they're pulling your driving record, and the other things that they're doing, your criminal background, if they do that.
Yeah.
So all those things are being done, and if you come up negative or not
You fail.
not eligible on the clearinghouse, they cannot hire you until you go through those steps.
So I have a couple questions. Do any of you, just looking for feedback, feel that the randoms should be randomly across your fleet as opposed to multiple people? And I realize that's not so random if it's random.
No, because it makes it easier for them to target someone because they don't like a particular person and say, "Oh, this is a random. We're going to take you again."
It also makes it easier to protect people. So
Exactly.
I know that Eric takes drugs that he won't pass, so I just make sure that he's not part of it.
For his health.
But-
Drugs
No,
for
just
his
Not
health.
he's
being
talking
sorry.
in general.
I was talking.
In general.
Using
We're
me
not
as an
being
example.
specific.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, correct.
Yes. So, but what if you just did a drug test last week and now it's this week's random and you come up again? Shouldn't there be some kind of something in place that says they've had one in the last
No.
60 days?
No.
Because they
So
may
you can
because
maybe
they
test those other people who could be using?
that person may have passed that drug screen yesterday
Sure.
and gone out today and got high as a kite.
Which is fine.
No, it's not fine.
Because what
That's
about
bad.
I
It's
mean, not
not.
fine. That's not what I meant.
But if the
But what
random
about your guy that's using methamphetamines on all the time, but he's never got a random and he's worked for your
Well,
company
so
for 4
everybody,
years?
everybody gets a pre-employment drug screen
Right.
too. So you got to remember that.
Yep.
Everybody has to have
Sure.
a drug screen to come in.
I just thought it was, and this is, I'm not trying to be controversial. I just thought it was odd that he admitted to being under these, and I'm like, there are so many checks and balances out there that I know I'm aware of. How did one slip through? And we're not just talking like had some beers the night before at the truck stop or whatever. But I mean, this guy was under quite a bit, and I'm like, how do we in the trucking industry? How do you not have that?
Well, I think if you've ever spent time around people who use and abuse drugs, they're very, very good at hiding it.
Sure.
So if they're very, very good at hiding it, how do we know he wasn't randomly drug tested just a month ago and had a fake sample?
That's true.
Or, I mean, there's so many things that people do to hide their tracks, and there's so many ways
not
they get
worth it.
around. My thing is, if he killed 7 people with all that in his system, why do you only get 48 years? That's
I
the
would
real
agree with you.
injustice. I mean, if a driver, is working as normal and something catastrophic happened and they lost control of the vehicle, but it was completely out of their hands,
Blown tire.
a blown tire or something like that, then I see like either no sentence, or if it's something that's like he was talking about, you just merged or something and barely did something that caused an accident
Sure.
like that, then that's where those smaller offenses come in. If you're under the influence of drugs and you kill those people, I get that it's not murder, right? Because murder is intentional, but it is manslaughter, and 7 people's manslaughter.
That's funny. Yeah.
That should be, I mean,
Yeah. I just
quite
thought
a
it
bit
was
higher.
My takeaway, because I've been following it, was how he admitted to so much, and I'm like, but there seems to be
Well, him admitting it makes sense because he's already busted,
He's already
right?
so
busted,
many
They've
checks
already done
and
his checks.
balances, but yet we're missing some. Is there?
But we're
Do you
always
f-
going to miss some in a system where we're only testing
Thank you.
50% of the
Correct.
carrier's
That's-
fleet, as in a random, but they are being tested ahead of time.
And we
Sure.
used to be only 25%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you think
they
it should be
doubled it.
more?
Well, it gets to be a cost benefit calculation, right?
What-
Where what's it cost to test 100% of your fleet, and how often do you test them?
And
Versus
Once a
not-
year,
Deceased people.
twice a year.
Well, not only that, but we can't. Anytime,
do you test everyone like before they get in their truck? They pee in a cup, and you test it before they can go on the road. I mean, that's really the only way you're going to stop it. But
Sure.
then once they stop an hour down the road and shoot up, or whatever,
Yeah.
so what's that program look like that
don't
we
know.
use to stop them?
Yeah, and
I don't know.
there is risk, I think, analysis that we all do on a daily basis
Sure.
when we decide we're going to jump in our car and go to Kroger, or we're going to take a long road trip or whatever. Like, we all accept a certain level of risk because we have to work, we have to make money, we have to get groceries, we have to do those things, right?
Right.
And chances are we're going to be fine. But there's still some risk associated with that. I'm not saying it's okay that this happened. It's not. And again, I don't think the punishment necessarily makes sense for the crime that happened. But at what point, how do you control, how do you handle all that kind of
I don't
stuff?
know.
So, I mean, you've got two big implements, and you've seen every year, we've seen drug-related offenses come down, get lower
Sure.
and lower. So it is working, but you do have the doubling of the drug and alcohol testing, and you do or drug testing rather, not alcohol, but drug testing, and you do have the clearinghouse.
Sure.
So now repeat offenders can't repeat offend.
Right.
Yeah.
They can't slip through.
Yeah,
Which
so
I appreciate that.
there are huge improvements, but I mean, there is always going to be someone that's going to slip through the folds.
Yeah.
There's no way to wrap everything we do in bubble wrap and say it'll always be protected. We do what we can, but just like, you remember the movie Worth? I know you and I talked about it. If you haven't seen it, it's a great movie. Then it's,
We have talked about it. Yes.
Yeah.
they talk about how they the insurance companies value the life of an individual, and it was based around 9/11. That same calculation's happening on everything we do.
Sure.
Got something like this, like Vince said, there is a certain point where if we make things so expensive no one can afford them, but we're guaranteeing that no truck driver ever is going to have drugs in their system, what's the point? Because now all of a sudden we can't buy things because we can't get milk because milk is $100
Sure.
a gallon.
Well, think about this too. We don't drug and alcohol test people when they get their driver's license to drive a car.
Oh.
So we're talking about testing CDL holders, which I recognize that as a CDL holder, I'm responsible for a really big, heavy piece of equipment that can do a lot of damage. As a car driver, I'm responsible for a lot smaller piece of equipment that can't do as much damage. But how many people that are out there driving cars every day are subject to random drug screens?
Yeah, probably
Not very
a lot.
many.
No.
But
It's usually
how many,
just
how many
a
people
DUI
are out there driving?
inspection point.
Yeah, are out there driving cars every day, are killing people
Sure.
because they're out under the influence of whatever it might be. that's causing them to be altered.
When it first happened, I was really hoping, like there's all this speculation, of course, that's what people do. But I was really hoping it was, I reached for something, I nodded off, my foot.
Well, he did nod off, he said.
More of though from lack of sleep. My foot slipped off the brake as I was
Yeah.
trying to come into the rest area. I just thought it would be sun was in my eyes, there was a glare, just something different. But sadly, it wasn't the case.
I
But
feel that's our nature as humans is to try to make sense of a terrible situation,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Sure.
The airplane in Toronto, like flew from Minneapolis, that rolled over. I mean, for a week, it was just tons of speculation from the pilots and the poor training and all this stuff, all the way to the other side, which is, it's perfectly safe, and that almost to the point where they're like, well, that really didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's really to the point of like everything was perfect. This was a fluke freak accident, and it's
Right.
like, well, planes don't break their wings off and roll over based on everything being perfect.
right,
Something happened.
right.
So like we try to rationalize and make things better,
Yeah.
and unfortunately in this case, it's just sometimes evil prevails. It's unfortunate, but it does happen.
So drug screenings and clearinghouse are a good thing in the
They
current
absolutely are.
CDL world.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I know that wasn't on the agenda, but it piqued my interest this week because I saw the follow through and just didn't know if there could have been a way to catch that.
I saw the follow up with that too, but I didn't take the time to read it. So I saw he got sentenced, but I didn't know what for. I thought it was a simple vehicular manslaughter. I didn't realize
Which
he had
is
all
what
that
it
other
was.
stuff. Yeah.
Times 48 or times 7 people, which ended up being 48 years. But he did admit to.
Is that a 48-year minimum?
Wow. Now that you mention that, I still have the article open here.
So I had a family member. I won't say who it was, but I had a family member who did have
48 years and 3 months.
Can you share that article?
So I had a family member that was found guilty of vehicular manslaughter, and it was a similar case with drugs in their system, and they were in a car, not a commercial vehicle, and they were convicted of like 20 years, but like a minimum of 4 or 5.
Right.
And so that's why I was wondering, is this a minimum of 4 or 5 per person, and then but the maximum could be 110 years or what? But it sounds like if you're saying it's that exact
It
number,
was 7 counts of second-degree manslaughter and 3 counts of assault, as well as reckless driving.
The jurors acquitted him of driving under the influence of intoxicants.
so they thought it was enough. It was a low enough dosage out of his system.
It says they found traces of meth, fentanyl, and morphine, but they just say traces. They don't say how much, obviously.
Gotcha.
Does say the crash was one of the state's deadliest, which happened in May of 2023, when he ran into the van carrying the 11 farm workers. That was parked on the I-5, on the side of I-5, in an agriculture area of the Willamette Valley. So they must not have been. I thought for some reason they were in a rest area.
Well, that does, that especially being traces, it does raise the question of if you're a drug user and you cause an accident, but you are not under the influence at that time, where does that play in?
Oh, I think it definitely plays in. How about all the? Well, this is my opinion. We're being very opinionated tonight. But what about all the people maybe you didn't kill on your way up there that you could have potentially killed? I don't think.
But I'm saying if you're not under the influence, not under the
Not
influence.
under the influence. Well, like Vince said, that he was acquitted on that, so it didn't play a factor into it.
So digging a little deeper into the original story from the Oregon Public Broadcasting, the article you sent me was from the AP, so it was summarized a little bit. The jury unanimously found the driver guilty on 7 counts of second-degree manslaughter. Each count carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 6 years and 3 months in prison. He's also found guilty of 3 counts of third-degree assault and 1 count of reckless driving. They don't say what sentence those requires. So if we do 6 times 7 is
So they're not doing them.
42.
They're not doing them concurrently. They're doing them consecutively.
I would assume.
Hence the reason you get 48
Right.
yards.
So 42, 3 months times 7 is
2 more years.
21. So yeah, just doing 2 more years plus whatever he got for the other 2 charges.
So it does sound like it's a minimum.
It does.
And you know what? Has he been sentenced or has he just been found guilty?
No, he's been sentenced.
Okay. That's where they didn't say
Okay,
what the
so
sentencing
there were a total of 11 people, 11 farm workers in the truck or in the van that he hit. So 7, that's the 7 comes from are the manslaughter
Manslaughter.
charges. The other 3 are the 3rd-degree assault.
Oof, what a mess.
Yeah,
What a mess.
yeah.
Oof.
Just doesn't pay.
It really
To do
doesn't.
drugs or alcohol.
Or
Go
sleep,
out of
or
service.
sleep
Or sleep deprived.
tired.
Any of that.
Sleepy-
It's not worth the freight delivery.
Tired and sleepy at the steering wheel is just as dangerous as
Yep.
being intoxicated.
Sure.
Even our carriers that we work with, they make exceptions for people who call
Exhausted.
in exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
When Vince and I were out there, that was definitely our number one motto was safety. And the number one safety was being sleep or rested.
Mhm.
You know, next would be like weather if you're not feeling safe. Because if you're not feeling safe, you're gonna have all that anxiousness. You know, whether that's weather typically. But those were our number ones. Definitely sleep. Sleep was, if you're not rested, it's just like being drunk or intoxicated.
Yeah, sleep's a big one. I mean, it just takes one little like doze off and
And you're done.
you're done.
That's it.
Was
Yeah.
7 people on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. Again, I know we don't like to talk about
Well, it's a
morbid things, but you know, it also involves the clearinghouse and
Yeah.
random drug screenings and all that.
it's
so.
a reminder of what could happen, right? Again, everything is a risk analysis that goes along
Yeah.
with it. As truck drivers, we've accepted a certain amount. So
But even as 4-wheelers, we do.
Yep.
Agreed. Well, great conversation, you guys, tonight.
I agree.
I enjoyed it.
It's been a lot of fun.
I can't wait to watch how Arkansas plays out.
Oh, I was thinking to myself like, well,
Football team?
Bama's
Are they
gonna
gonna
Bama's
win?
gonna beat the Razorbacks. What are you talking about?
We're not quite there yet.
No, not quite there. It's way too soon. Well, it has been a lot of fun. I appreciate our time, our group therapy session together. I hope we were entertaining for y'all
Yeah.
out there on the road. Thank you for listening and watching. And we, if you like us, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumb up, share us on your social media. If you don't like us, hit that thumbs down sign twice. Leave us a comment in our review. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, please let us know. We said we were going to be talking more about Hyfield last episode.
Yeah, how's
But
that research coming?
It's good, but this episode's already gone pretty long, so we'll save it for
Nice.
next week.
Got it.
But we thank all of y'all for being out there and supporting us. Jerry, what am I forgetting?
If you would like to send us an email, you can do that at theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com. If you're interested in learning more about Hyfield or joining Hyfield, you can go to hyfieldtrucking.com. You can also reach out to us on there through our chat function, Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also give us a call at 833-493-4353, option 1, or 833-HYFIELD.
I'm ready to take your call.
And if it's not you,
It'll be Delina.
and if it's not her,
It'll be one of us to call you back.
I'll answer.
no, you won't.
I won't. You're right.
Actually, it's going to be Delina, then me, and then if neither one of us answer, one of us will call you back.
Yes.
That's the order.
Love automation. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Can't wait till we can replace that with bots. Anyways, AI. They don't call it bots anymore, do they? It's AI now.
AI.
Anyways. All right. In the meantime, stay safe, make good decisions. Oh, I should have hit the record button.
Oh, yeah, you should have. Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.
Good night.